What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Paul. This is the Leeds Therapy. Thank you ever so much for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, if you could hit the subscribe button for me, if you could like the video, if you could turn your notifications on. Any comments that you want to make, please feel free, leave them in the comment section down below. And yeah, let's get into this one. It's a tough one because, as usual, we're in the middle of a international break. Again, feels like international break number 874. Excuse me, but it's Nations League, whatever. Who cares? Just whatever. It's infuriating because it's always the same as whenever you just start to touch on a little bit of form, and I don't necessarily mean Leeds. It just kind of feels like it curtails what you're trying to do or what you're trying to achieve because the international break comes in and it just, I don't know, ruins things a little bit. But today what I wanted to talk about was just the level of expectation of Leeds United as a football team from kind of every angle, really, as you look at it, in terms of players, manager, the public, fans, however you want to press it, and just in terms of what you want to think about. And this is, for me, it's been born off of the back of a few results. I mean, overall, at the moment, we can't be too upset. We're sitting right about where we need to be in terms of who we've played. Points total wise, we're doing okay. We're getting the points on the board. That's the main thing. We're keeping in touch and distance with everybody else. There is nobody running away with it. I mean, this time last season, Leicester were on like 40 odd points pretty much. And bear in mind, they were on 40 odd points and we still managed to reel them in. So this time around, it's a lot closer, which is, oh, sorry, hit the microphone, which is a good thing. And, you know, it's a positive that needs to be taken. But I've got a couple of points and then a couple of statistics that I just wanted to chat. I actually made notes for once. These things do happen occasionally. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was fans' expectations. And let's be 100% honest. I think we can all agree that with the squad that we have, we should be winning the league, if not at the very, very bare minimum, getting promoted. Just with the squad that we have, the players that we have, the depth that we have, which was, you know, absolutely shown in terms of the substitutions that we made at the weekend against QPR, the players that we were able to bring on. Gulavogi was able to come on. Dan James was able to come on. Just those, Matteo Joseph able to come on, and just to change it and switch it up a little bit, you know, Schmidt was able to come on as well. That depth that we have is really, really good. And once we get all of the players back that we've got, again, should be, you know, unmatched by anybody else in the league. I mean, you've got Ampadu out, you've got Gruev out, two quite key players in terms of them coming back into the team and what they could potentially bring for us moving forwards as kind of like the season wears on. And they are, you know, players that we are going to need 100% as the season wears on. Same again, big shout out Joel Peru. I absolutely love him. But what I mean in terms of fan expectations, you see it a lot on Twitter. I'll still not get used to calling it X. You see it a lot on like the Facebook groups and all of that kind of stuff. We should be running over these teams. We should be absolutely destroying these teams. We should be this, we should be that. And it's that weird sense of entitlement that we almost have as Leeds United fans, that we should just be absolutely battering every single team that we play against. And it just isn't the case, because we know how a lot of teams are going to set up against us. They're going to have that mid to low block, which is going to be difficult for us to break down. Teams are going to put, if they could, 20 people behind the ball. And it is a difficult thing to overcome. And unfortunately, we have to, sometimes in our play, we have to be patient in terms of the build-up and the way that we do things. Yes, I do think that we could play it a lot quicker at times. When we do play it quicker, we are practically untouchable, which is lovely to see. And I just wish we would do it on a more kind of regular basis. But just there is that kind of the expectation and entitlement factor sometimes that comes with wearing the shirt, but from the fans in particular, in terms of where we should be and where we should be going. And listen, there's nothing wrong with feeling that way or thinking that it should be that way. It just, that sometimes can lead to the more kind of negative aspect that we get and not being able to see the wood for the trees a little bit, where I always say the first half of the season, particularly for a Daniel Farke team, is getting points on the board. That's the whole general idea. The performances, fingers crossed, should come as the season kind of wears on. It's just, one of those things. There's also the perception from the outside as well. So that kind of thing where people view us as, this massive club, which we are, but we should be doing X, Y, and Z, which again is extra pressure on top of the players. And listen, at the end of the day, they get paid massive money. They should be able to take those kind of pressures and move forwards and run with it as well, to be fair. But it's just that there's just that weird kind of paradigm that's going on that we should be way, way, way ahead of where we are. I do think in terms of up to today, we've probably had out of all of the teams that are within that top kind of few spaces at the moment, we've probably had the slightly tougher fixtures, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's just my naivety in some way. I don't know. The next thing that just to touch on is the squad quality side of things. So, is the squad better than what it was last year? It's a difficult one to answer because it's how you look at it and how you perceive it. Yes, the squad is better than what it was last year. I think the squad is more balanced. However, what we haven't got this year is that little additional level of stardust in particular places where the squad balance overall is a little bit better, and in terms of how we play is a little bit better overall, and that's kind of being borne out in terms of, sharing the goals around players this time, as rather than it being left to one person in particular or another person in particular to score the goals that we need to be scored. This year, I feel like overall the balance is much, much better. But what that then leads to is that we have this, and it leads me on to the next point, is the type of system that we play. So we play that 4-2-3-1 system all of the time. So we've got the four flat defenders. We've then got the two holding midfielders, which annoys me. We've then got the three kind of attacking players and then the up top player, if you like. Last season, we could rely a lot on Somerville and Rutter, who had the ability between the two of them to take a game by the scruff of its neck and almost win a match by themselves. We do have that a little bit this season, but not to the extent that we had it last season. The biggest difference now is it's much more of a team effort. There's much more going on. The people playing in those positions now are different to the players that we had last season. So there has been kind of a readjustment to the system that we're playing. Also adding to the fact the injuries that we've had as well, and that again changes the system in the way that we play. It's phenomenal to think that we are now having that question of once Ampadu's fit again, will he walk straight back into the team? I'm not so sure that he does. Personally, my opinion, I think it'll be a case of probably more than likely Tanaka and Ampadu that will play in the centre of midfield once that's all kind of sorted itself out, because Tanaka's almost making himself undroppable. Rothwell's doing phenomenally well. There's nothing wrong with what Rothwell's doing, but just Tanaka is just, for me, and again, I might have slightly more of a biased opinion, is just a phenomenal player. But with those two players not being in the squad this season, that system that we're used to playing, and especially with Ramazani being injured as well, it's not as direct between 1 to 2 players as what it was last season. There's a lot more going on. So when Ramazani's fit and it's Nonto, Aronson and Ramazani in the midfield, they were all switching positions really, really easily. There was that really good just movement that, because Ramazani's not there now, it's not quite as much there as what it was before. So there's been, even though we're playing the same system, there's been a little, in my opinion, level of adjustment that needs to go with it as well. So yes, we are squad-wise better, but we're just lacking that little bit of stardust, I think, is probably the right thing. I think Ramazani will give that when he comes back. So I don't think, when I say that, I don't mean that in terms of it being all doom and gloom. And then, like I said, in terms of that stardust with players, we then have that goals situation in terms of who's scoring and what needs to be done and who's going to score the goals and this, that and the other. But this season, moving it around, it has been spread around. Who have we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 different people have scored so far this season. So you've got Peru, top scorer with 6. Brendan Aronson, our American boy, number 2 with 4. You've got Joseph with 2. Nonto with 2, Strauk with 2, Ramazani with 3, Bogle with 2, Dan James with 2, and Firpo with 1. Yeah, that's all. That's in terms of goals that we've scored throughout the season so far. And this is what I mean when I say there's a little bit more balance to the squad. So we're using more of the team rather than it just being focused on one particular player out on the left hand side or one particular player in the middle to unlock everything. The next thing is a bit of a hot topic because I get it all the time in terms of comments for the videos that I do, is obviously the manager. So the biggest thing is the way that the football's being played. There's a lot of sideways, backwards, moving the ball around, trying to create an opening and not quite knowing how to break that low block, not taking a lot of risks, are very risk averse, slow playing it a little bit sometimes, which can be infuriating and frustrating. We seem to have this weird thing of sometimes the first 15 minutes of game absolutely battering a team and then kind of going back within to ourselves, or if we get a 2-goal lead, just shrinking back a little bit and trying to protect the lead rather than going for the jugular. And it would be nice to see us go for the jugular on a more regular basis and just absolutely blast teams outside. Like I said, when we play quickly, I do think that we are better than most teams out there in this division by a country mile. And I don't mean this by any disrespect to any team that we've played this season, but there's nobody that really, really scares me in terms of playing against. I don't think I'm worried about playing against anybody else, and that's not in terms of me being arrogant thinking that we're going to beat everybody, but it's not the same as thinking, oh shit, we look like we could struggle here. The problem that we've got is breaking down other people's systems and people setting up against us and being able to do that, and that's people's frustrations with the manager. Adding to that the 70-minute substitutions, which can be infuriating at the best of times, which is completely understandable, but because Farke is so risk averse, I think that's just somewhere where it's always going to happen. Unless something is going seriously wrong, I don't think that there's anything that he's going to do to annoy that. And it frustrates me and it infuriates absolutely everybody. And I think one of the other things as well is that if we're chasing a game sometimes, or if we're trying to make that break or make that difference within a game, we sometimes don't react first when it comes to making those changes. We tend to wait for the other team to make the changes, then we make the changes. I don't know if that kind of makes sense. I think some people would like us to be more on the front foot when it comes to, making substitutions and changing the game. And that's something that I understand from people, and I get people's perception of how that can look and how it can feel and the frustration that goes with it as well. It's like I said, it's annoying. Like the QPR game, we've talked about it. Weird second half. Players weren't at their absolute fullest. Yeah, maybe some of the players were knackered or something, but it just kind of felt like, I don't know, just like we were just struggling to get going a little bit. I don't feel like we were in any danger at any point, but I just feel like we were really struggling. But one of the key things, and it's key to everything in this league, is organising the defence is something that Farke is extremely good at. And I mean ridiculously good at. So in 15 games this season, there's 16 shots. 5 outside of the box, 2 in the 6-yard box, and 9 in the penalty area. So that's an average of 1.06 shots per game. Over the past few games, we've had complete shutouts in terms of shots on targets, where teams haven't put anything at all against us, which means that the overall XG total is something like 8.8 in terms of shots against, but that equates to roughly about 0.09 XG against per game. And what that speaks to is how organised our defence is. And listen, look, I know that obviously Mellier's come in for some stick. He'll always come in for some stick. Keepers will do. Yep, he's been at fault on certain aspects of things. It's just, I think it comes with wearing the shirt. But in terms of that defensive partnership of Firpo on the left-hand side, Bogle on the right, who took some time to settle, but I feel like we're starting to see what we paid for now, and Struijk and Rodon in the middle, is just absolutely, it's so good. And then throw in with the central defensive midfielders that we have as well, just as an additional cover. And then you look at the backups that we have that can come in. So Schmidt can come in. You've got Byram that can come in as well. And just in terms of being able to change it up and move things around, our defence is ridiculously good, like ridiculously good. And it doesn't worry me as such. My one complaint, if I had any, would be from a Melia point of view, just being more commanding of his area. That's essentially that's it. I just want him to be more commanding and carry more shots more than what he does. So from an offensive point of view, generally speaking, what was that we've scored? We've scored 15 goals overall so far this season. Not 15, sorry. We've got from a shots point of view, it's a 16.3 shots per game we take. 5.3 of those are on target per game. So on average, we're getting between 5 and 6 shots on target per game. Dribbles wise, by the way, and we are leading the league in this, 7.1 dribbles, so take on dribbles per game is what we're going through at the moment, which overall is giving us an XG, and again, this is down because of how good the defence actually is, of 1.85. So just to pad that out a little bit more, if you like, when you look at it per player, so the top five that I'll give it in terms of attacking players that we've got, and I'll give their XG per game. So you've got Joel Peru, who is 4.72. He scored 6. You've got Brendan Aronson, 4.41. He scored 4. 4.02 for Matteo Joseph. He scored 2. Willie Nonto is 3.11. He scored 2. And then you've got Largi Ramazani, 1.89, and he's got 3 overall. So Ramazani, and this is the other thing that's key, he's outperforming what his expected goals is per game at the moment. So we are desperate to get him back as quickly as possible. Now, the point that I want to make is that, yes, I can understand how it can be boring at times or come across as boring at times in terms of the way they're playing. Believe me, I feel exactly the same way as well. But should we keep playing like this all season and get promoted? Nobody's really going to care because we've got the points that are needed. One of the things that I like to point out as well is we are a second half of the season team. I think that we will get better. There's still gears that we've got to get out to. There's still been upheaval with players that have left last season. And we all know what the hangover can be like to get used to not being there anymore. But also as well, the injuries that we've had and the team having to readjust and play differently or play not maybe how they would be used to be playing compared to what it was like before. But yeah, that's it. I just wanted to have like I said, a little chat with regards to the level of expectations. So like I said, I actually made notes on this one, so I'm proud of myself for that. That's going to do it for this one. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, and you've made it all the way through to the end, you are a legend. Please don't forget to click the like button, turn your notifications on, subscribe. If you've got any comments that you want to make, please put them in the comment section down below. I'm never going to overtly disagree with anybody. This is a forum for people to say what they want to say and lay it all out there, the therapy for everybody, really, so everybody feels ready for the next game in hand. Take care of each other, most importantly, take care of yourself, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you for stopping by. Cheers.